NFL Power Rankings heading into Week 14, breaking them down from 32 to 1. Let's do it. Titans remain at 32 after an embarrassing 3-point outing against the Jags. The Raiders still at 31. They fire Chip Kelly. The offense looks the same because it's still Brock Bowers trying to carry a bad offense, so it's not really surprising. 30, the Saints. It's back-to-back weeks where they put together an early season outing where they're really sloppy. They played a little better down the stretch, almost pulled off a crazy comeback, but they got outplayed by the Dolphins. 29, the Giants down a spot. I went way too bold and said the Giants could put up a fight with the Patriots. This game was over very early. They just looked like a bad football team. They were starting to look a little better recently. Maybe they need Winston for that spark. It's not Dart's fault they played like this, but mistakes on special teams, bad penalties, just not executing. They fire Shane Bowen. The defense looks as bad as ever. I don't know what's going on with Abdul Carter. So not good from the Giants here. I can't get over that. I keep watching it, that Younghoe Koo kick. Never seen that. It was so bad that it almost seemed like it was on purpose. I'll leave it at that. 28, the Browns down 3 spots. It's a shame because the defense is so good, but the offense absolutely brutal. The Jets up 2 spots. They pull it off against the Falcons, and they're putting some wins together recently. It's not the prettiest team in the world, but it hasn't been pretty for Aaron Glenn in his debut this year, but what I do like how he's got this team playing right now. Everyone, the vibes aren't down. They're trying to win. They're going all out, and they're putting together some wins here and there. 26, kind of like the Browns. It's kind of a shame with how good the Vikings defense is. The defense is playing even better recently, but they're just a bad football team. It is the worst quarterback situation in football. Jesus, what an outing that was. Back to McCarthy. You might as well put me out there. 25, the Falcons down 3 spots. Yet another game where you're going, how do the Falcons not pull that win off? They should win that game. They don't. I go back to the coaching staff with that. We've seen enough. Raheem Morris failed elsewhere as well. I think you got to fire some people, at least fire some people throughout that staff, and you consider some in the front office as well. So got to win that one. Cardinals stay put at 24. Yeah, they're losing, but they're putting up some fights. I mean, there's some good moments on both sides of the ball, so I can't, knock the Cardinals too much. And I think maybe the first time ever, and I've been doing the power rankings for some time, where I had a team that lost moved up 4 spots, and that's because of a variety of reasons here for the Washington Commanders. I mean, they played pretty well against the Broncos. A 10-2 Broncos team. They were a play away from having them. Things didn't really go their way with the calls. Mariota played pretty well. They ran the ball way better than expected. Against the Broncos, they pass protected better than expected. Dan Quinn recently took over as a defensive play caller. His second game, in the defense back-to-back games looked pretty decent, given all the injuries they have. So, and then given, the Cardinals keep losing, the Falcons choking, the Vikings end up being they're not, can they beat anybody right now? I'm sure there's some teams, but the Commanders, we'll see them take on the Vikings. So this is more of just getting the teams in their appropriate spots. The Commanders are better than the teams below them. If it feels right now, at least. Steelers down 3 spots. I mean, they've really gotten cold. There was some intrigue with the Steelers earlier in the year, but now it's like you can't really trust the offense or the defense. Sometimes one's good for a series or for a game, but the other one isn't. They can't get both on the same page at the same time. Feels like now it feels like Rodgers is declining a little bit, within this year, I should say. So, they randomly beat the Colts not too long ago, but I don't know how that happened. It's just they're getting cold right now. It does not feel great. Again, it's not the same old Steelers defense, not close, and the offense is back to being underwhelming. 21, the Bengals go up 5 spots, and if I had to predict, they could, a tough matchup against the Bills this week, but they could continue to climb because their guy, Joe Burrow, is back. This team is much better than what their record says with Joe Burrow. They go into Baltimore, and they beat them up pretty good. They have their best defensive outing of the year. Now, it wouldn't be wise to say that defense is going to continue to do that, just because Joe Burrow's back on the other side of the ball. So can't really expect that, but this is a better team. Go out and show it so you can continue to climb up these rankings, but an impressive outing on Thanksgiving night. Dolphins up a spot. They're getting better. They're putting together some wins. They have a very favorable schedule going forward, so that's a sneaky team to watch. They feel better, especially on defense. Night and day difference on defense. Overall, they feel better. Do they really feel like a really solid team, though? And they can't go that far quite yet with Miami, but an interesting team to watch because the favorable schedule here coming up. Ravens go down a whopping 6 spots. It does seem like a bit for one loss because they were on a winning streak before that. Other teams really had to move up, but a very disappointing outing for the Ravens. 5 turnovers. Another week where we're saying Lamar just doesn't look right, does not look nearly, it's a fact, right? He's not nearly himself. And the defense, playing better than earlier in the year, but it's still not nearly themselves. It's, Zay Flowers maybe doesn't even look that great right now. The offensive line's not nearly themselves either. And you go back to some of those wins, recent wins, Jets, Browns, Vikings, turns out for the Vikings, but all those teams end up being pretty bad, and the Ravens struggle, kind of outplayed in the first half of those games. So I don't know. There's really nothing super impressive with the Ravens right now. Am I going to say they're for sure not going to snap out of it? I can't say that. This is kind of the time where the Ravens know how to execute and play ball, so I could see them for sure going on a playoff run, maybe winning that division and maybe being a better playoff team than people expect. But they got to show us something here. Just a lot of things just seem off, and it starts with Lamar. 18, the Bucs will stay put. Much needed win. They looked pretty good to the point where they should have easily won this game. They did not. They kind of kept the Cardinals around there, but they snapped out of it. They won. They got to keep growing off that. Just not enough there to move them up. The Panthers, the most confusing team in all of football, because one week they beat the Packers, and now the Rams, the best team in football, and the offense looks damn explosive, and there's some weeks where the defense looks dominant, some weeks where it's an elite run defense, and some weeks not so much. And just on Monday night, against the Niners, this team, they got their hands on the ball, but other than that, just so underwhelming. Just got completely out physicaled, and now this. So you beat the Rams, you're going to move up. There's some intrigue there with the Panthers. They have a lot of upside, but they're so inconsistent. If they could put together a streak, we can move them up way more. But if you have them soar up the rankings every time they win, they've just let us down, and then you got to move them all the way back down. So I don't want to overreact too much here. But it was an impressive win for the Panthers, up 3 spots, 17. Chiefs down a spot. Another team that just doesn't feel like their normal selves. Even Mahomes, it's not his fault at all, but he's a little off at times with the accuracy. But at the same time, you could feel that it's still a pretty good team. It's just not that elite Chiefs team. They moved the ball all game. They got to execute better, especially down the stretch. The second half, calls didn't really go their way. The defense, it was more so the defense did not feel anywhere near themselves. They're allowing very easy separation. But you could still feel this team is capable of being a tough team to deal with. So that's why they don't drop a ton in the rankings. Still a very good offense, still a solid team that I wouldn't really want to play. But I'm a Vikings fan. I don't really want to play anybody right now. 15, the Jags up 2 spots. Kind of an up and down season for the Jags from the start. But right now, since the Texans choke, the choke game against the Texans, they tweaked some things. Liam Cohen came out and said that, both sides of the ball, and it's kind of showing a little bit. They're playing better football. Yeah, it was just the Titans this past week, but they're playing better. The record looks pretty good. Are they a team, how good are they actually? We're all kind of asking. We're not doubting. We're wondering. So big game against the Colts this week. A win there could in the power rankings, if I had to predict, next week could really boost them. I guess depends on what everyone else does and how they look in that game. But the Jags starting to move up. The Lions, another week where we're saying it just doesn't, another one of those teams where it just does not feel, it's very evident right now that it's not the same old Lions team. They're definitely a step down when it comes to play calling, when it comes to execution, when it comes to pass protection. And then we know Goff isn't he's not bad, but under pressure, nobody's the same under pressure, really. And then defensively, they got picked apart, even with their corners back. And now Arnold's going to be out again. Too much predictable man coverage, so it just doesn't feel right here. It just kind of feels like in the past they were winning off of being bold and clutch, and it just wasn't sustainable, and now it's not working out for them. So we'll see if they snap out of it. Big game against the Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. Speaking of the Cowboys, the only thing Dallas doesn't have going for them in the rankings here, in a ranking type exercise, is their record. The record isn't great. It's not all about record, though. We're not just going to list teams off the record. So this is a good football team right now. They're a much better team than they were even just a few weeks ago when they were losing, right? They're executing more on offense. The receivers are George Pickens and the receivers unreal right now. It's just Chiefs had no answer, couldn't stop them. And defensively, obviously, they're much better. And people go, Quinn Williams, Logan Wilson, that really made them that much better. I mean, gives them a big-time boost, but people don't realize they got a lot of guys back healthy, and now Trevon Diggs is going to come back soon as well. So they're playing good football, and they're beating good football teams. So if their record was better, they would be much higher on this list. So start to stack some more wins. There we go. 13 versus 14, Thursday Night Football. That's a huge game. Expecting a lot of offense in that one. And there's the Eagles down 5 spots to number 12. I mean, the only reason they're not down further is because they do have wins over the Lions and the Packers somewhat recently, even though those games weren't, I wasn't really, you can be impressed with the defense in that game, but wasn't overall impressed in that game. So that's kind of what they're holding on to, and their record's still good. They have some good resume wins from earlier in the year, but right now things are not great. I mean, that offense, who can they consistently move the ball and score on? You're wondering who could they actually do it on. The play calling, the game plan, bad. Hurts is off. The offensive line isn't terrible, not even close to terrible, but it's not the same. Barkley's a little off. Offensive line's not helping. A.J. Brown's still really good, but he's maybe a little bit of a step down. And then defensively, apparently they can't stop the run. I mean, what a terrible outing. Or maybe it was just the Bears' running game's that good. It is really good, but some questions about the Eagles, and the vibes are down to where's the locker room at? Where's the motivation at? That is the big thing after winning the Super Bowl and how they're playing right now. It's a weird team. They're hard to trust right now. Number 11, the Chargers will stay put. A little slow start against the Raiders, but they really got things going and dominated the rest of the way. The Chicago Bears are in the top 10. Who would have predicted that going into the year? They continue to find ways to win, but this game was different. This Eagles game, this is what they needed on the resume, at least for me, but I think everyone needed to see it. Not only do they go to Philadelphia and beat them, but there were some dominant factors here from the Chicago side. I'm a big run the ball guy. I mean, I was blown away. I knew they were a good running team, but I was blown away by how they ran the ball, how they blocked, on those plays as well. But they got a two-headed monster at the running back position right now, and they showed out in this game. And that's the Eagles. I know the Eagles, things aren't perfect right now, but that's a defense that's typically pretty good. They typically stop the run pretty well. So that's what I needed from the Bears. Very much impressed, in a game like that. Perfect world, they put them away as they should have a little earlier in that game, but they got the job done. They deserved to win that game. I know there's been some complaints I've seen in the comments, like why aren't they moving up, like for an example, like this 4 spots when they beat the Mason Rudolph Steelers or the Bengals or the Giants when Dart goes down. I mean, any team wouldn't move up a ton from that. We need games like this one, the Eagles game. So I think it's common sense stuff. So the Bears, deserving of being in the top 10 after the wins that they put together here, especially that last one. Huge game for the battle of the NFC North this upcoming week against the Packers. Can't wait for that. Colts down 3 spots to number 9. Overall, in the game against the Texans, the Colts were good. I thought it felt like 2 good teams going at it. The Texans were just the better team. That's, I guess, a little bit of a knock on the Colts. You want to be the better team. You're at home in that game. You got to find a way to win. I know there was some odd calls in that game. The Texans did outplay the Colts, but very slightly. They're not down 3 spots because how they played. They did lose, but they're down 3 spots because they're just not. They don't feel like the same team from earlier in the year. Look at the last several games, even some of the wins. It just doesn't quite feel the same, even though I still think they're a very good team that's capable of hanging with anyone, right? So they're down 3 spots to number 9. Starting to come back down to earth a little bit, but still a very good team. 8, the Bills will stay put. Slow start, but they got motivated. They got I said it in last night's video. I think Cam Hayward kind of gave him a boost, and then there was that turnover in the start of the second half, and the Bills got rolling there. Defense played better than expected. Offense with a slow start. Cook went off. They're going to stay put. Need to see something consistent here from the Buffalo Bills. Number 7, the Houston Texans up 5 spots. I mean, yeah, their record isn't the greatest in the world. There's not too many great records out there, but man, this team, we end up saying it every week. This team is playing better and better and better. Earlier in the year, defense was really good. Offense was just terrible. The play calling was the worst part about it. And then the defense somehow ended up even playing better as the year went on. Number one defense in football. And the offense continues to get better. Got their quarterback back this week, and they go against a really good Colts defense. And Stroud started off a little slow, had an interception in there, and he's knocking off the rust. He was out for a bit. Took a major hit to the head, and he got better and better as the game went on. And they were moving the ball pretty effectively. Yeah, Perfect World executed a short yardage play. I like to think they got it on third down, but didn't get it on fourth. But this is a team, this is a good football team that because of their defense, they have the shot to beat anyone. They beat the Bills a week ago. They beat the Colts, two really good teams. They beat the Niners not too long ago. And now the offense is capable of adding on top of the defensive performances here. So I really like what I'm seeing from the Texans. I think they're a unique team, not for most years, but for this year they feel like a unique team in a good way, where it's a team that you don't really want to play. Number 6, because there's some good teams with good records that it's like, are we really scared of that team in the playoff? I'm scared of the Texans. Packers up 4 spots to number 6. A good win against the Lions. They go 2-0. Something about them going 2-0 against the Lions. They've struggled with the Lions in the past years. Something about them getting that extra win on the Lions this past week gives them an extra boost to me. And they're starting to play a little bit better. There was some hiccups somewhat recently on offense. They're playing better in that category, and the play calling's better. It's just kind of what LaFleur and the Packers do, down the stretch when you kind of smell the playoffs coming. So this is another team that could be a little more dangerous. We'll see, but they could be. Defense is playing pretty well as well. They are up 4 spots to number 6 as maybe they're starting to put some things together against the Bears this week. 6 versus 10 for the top of the NFC North in Lambeau. Can't wait. Number 5, the Niners will stay put there. I'm just been impressed with them this season. The defense is starting to get better, and it's been good all year. Even despite the injuries. And then offensively, they did what they had to do when they needed a big time. They didn't do a ton, but when they needed a big time play, that they got that. Again, recently got their quarterback back. They're playing good football team. Another team I just wouldn't want to see in the playoffs. I guess if they continue to get even more injured, then maybe I would. But it's a well-coached team, very experienced team. They're playing good football. Number 4, the Broncos, and I'll add, we'll show the Patriots here. But on the Niners, the Panthers win just on Monday night, looked even better. The Broncos and the Patriots, surprisingly, the Broncos, even though they're on a huge winning streak, moved down a spot, and that's because they flipped with the other team that is also on a massive winning streak. Both these teams feel the same. Patriots and the Broncos, they're right there. I flip-flopped them last week. I'm going to flip them back, and that's because we're splitting hairs here. They're on the same page. I'm just a little more impressed with the Patriots. The Giants could be a little sneaky, a trap game perhaps, because the Patriots are really banged up, and they're just dominant from start to finish. Both sides of the ball, every phase of the game. Talk about special teams as well. Well, the Broncos were a little underwhelming. They got the win. It's hard to go, win that many games in a row. That's why they're in the top 4. Very good record, really good team. But two teams that are very similar, exceeding expectations. Everyone isn't doubting. They're kind of just wondering, are these teams really that good? Will they be that good in the playoffs? But yeah, I just flip-flopped them. Thought the Patriots were a little more impressive to me just based on the eye test. Maybe just the difference in offense. They both got very good defenses. Even though the Broncos were a little underwhelming against the Commanders on both sides of the ball. Struggling Commanders team, no Jaden Daniels. Game really could have went either way. I think I said it in the previous video. I almost wish there was something fluky that went against the Broncos that makes it an explanation on why that felt like an evenly matched game. But there really wasn't that. It just felt like an evenly matched game. But obviously a good team if they're winning that many games in a row this season, of all seasons. So 3-4, Patriots, Broncos, they're basically a tie. Just a little more impressed with the Patriots this past week. Seahawks remain at 2, a shutout against the Minnesota Vikings. The Seahawks have a top 2 defense in football. Them and the Texans are at the top. I think they really pulled away. Like, those are the top defenses. Seattle's offense was a little quiet. They didn't really have to do much, but they allowed a lot of pressure on Darnold. He took some shots there. That's really the only question you have with Seattle after the Rams game, after this game, is teams that could get consistent pressure, in the big games, how do they fare? But a team that we know can play on both sides of the ball. And the Rams just got upset big time to the Panthers, but I'm not going to move them. And that's because this isn't just, what you did recently matters, obviously, but it's not only about 1 week, these power rankings. It's about what you've done all year. And all year, I mean, 90% at least of the year, the Rams have just been the best team in football. And there's really no worries about that loss. It was just uncharacteristic mistakes by Stafford that really aren't going to happen again. Or if they do it, it'll be, still rare. But I just don't see any reason to move them down. They recently outplayed and beat Seattle. I don't really see any reason to have them ahead of them. I know the Patriots and Broncos records are ridiculous. It's just based on the eye test and the resume, it just feels like the Rams, are just have been the better team. But I mean, if it ends up being pretty close because the Rams are coming off a loss to the Panthers. So if a team like the Broncos end up just dominating, or the Patriots as well, the Seahawks, any of those teams, they very easily could hop the Rams, even if the Rams win. It just kind of depends on how you look, and who you play, and that kind of goes into what your rank ends up being here. So I just didn't. There's not enough throughout this season to move them down just off that one loss. So I think people got to agree with that. We'll see. Patriots and Broncos, massive winning streaks, consider them in the top two. Just tough to move the Seahawks down as well after a shutout victory. So felt pretty good about those rankings there. So let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments. There's always complaints. My team should be higher, should be way up there, number one. But just how it goes. But can't believe it's week 14 already. Our weekly picks video will be next. We'll have score predictions after that. You guys know the drill. We got all that content. Join us, like, subscribe, so notifications on. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.